And sorry with my fumbling with technical stuff always. Need to turn up the volume. Okay. Okay, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. It's been a while since we've had a talk. So I'm broadcasting from Salt Lake City, Utah this morning. So I'm at my sister's house. We had my dad's memorial yesterday, so I'm here for that to be with family, and I'll be heading back to Arkansas Monday morning. So it's been kind of an emotional weekend, as you can imagine, and but it's been beautiful too, and I'm happy to be here and to be able to connect with everyone. This morning, we can go back into our study of Makahannyaharamits. I think we'll just probably do a little review and start going over the parts of the text next week that we haven't talked about. But since it's been so long since we've talked about it, I thought to maybe just a little review today, and then an opportunity for any questions or comments that people might have had that might have come up over the last month or more than a month before we kind of start again into the more detailed study of the text next weekend. So the text should be in the chat too there if you want to bring it up. There should be a link that will enable you to bring it up. And so I won't read the whole thing, but I'll read what we've gone over so far. All right, so those lines that we've gone over so far are: the time of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva practicing profound prajna paramita is the whole body, clearly seeing the emptiness of all five aggregates. The five aggregates are forms, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. This is the fivefold prajna. Clear seeing is itself prajna. To unfold and manifest this essential truth, the Heart Sutra states that form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form is nothing but form. Emptiness is nothing but emptiness. 100 blades of grass, 10,000 things. The 12 sense fields are 12 instances of prajna paramita. Also, there are 18 instances of prajna: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, objects of mind, as well as the consciousness of eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Also, there are 4 instances of prajna: suffering, its cause, its cessation, and the path to cessation. So I'll stop there. We actually haven't really talked much about this 4 instances of prajna paramita. So we'll probably actually talk about that more next week. Of course, this is referring to the 4 Noble Truths. And I think we talked a little bit about it the last time I spoke, but we'll talk about it more next time. So I'll just go over a few points here that will kind of remind us and bring us back into this piece and getting us thinking about it again a little bit. and perhaps, reflecting on it. So next week we can start talking about it in more detail. And, I would encourage you, if you like, to maybe this week read over the text. And I think in that folder, I put some recommendations for reading too that you might be referring to already. But if you want to go back to that and study a little bit, Uchamaroshi has a commentary on this text, as well as my teacher Shohaku Okamura has. There's a link, I think, in there that brings you to his Dharma Eye journal commentaries on this text. So the time of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva practicing profound prajna paramita is the whole body clearly seeing the emptiness of all five aggregates. So, as usual, as is often the case, Dogen Zenji kind of packs the whole thing into the first line of the chapter that he's referring to, and then he kind of goes and expounds and goes into more detail from there. But we could talk about this first line for many hours, but it's an amazing and beautiful line. So basically, just to say something about it, Avalokiteshvara, of course, is the Bodhisattva of compassion in Mahayana Buddhism. But in Dogen Zenji's teaching, Avalokiteshvara is our Zazen practice. And this time of Avalokiteshvara is the time of the entirety of this whole body, of our whole body, all of our five skandhas. That's one meaning of whole body. When we put our entire body and mind into this moment, this time of sitting Zazen, we are liberated, and the entire network of interconnected beings is liberated in this time of Avalokiteshvara. So the Heart Sutra says that all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas rely on prajna paramita. And actually another way to translate that is all Buddhas arise from prajna paramita. And I like that interpretation a lot. So all Buddhas actually arise in this moment, this time of sitting Zazen, or this time of wholehearted practice of the whole body and mind. So the whole body also means the whole body of this entire universe. So we become beyond one and beyond two, with this whole body. And you really see Dogen Zenji's his teachings are rooted in Vajrayana Buddhism. We don't think of it very often, but this is a kind of Vajrayana understanding of the nature of reality, that the whole body of the universe, the Buddhas are really, this universe and this reality manifesting, and our connection to those Buddhas are our connection to this reality, and we influence each other and inform each other. But Dogen Zenji, to me, in my mind, takes this to its most sublime and deep level in his teachings. So also in this line, we hear Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna was a great Zen ancestor, a great Mahayana Buddhist ancestor, and Dogen Zenji really echoes Nagarjuna's teachings, I think. So Nagarjuna really expounded this understanding of interconnection and emptiness, and how, everything, uh, he kind of deconstructed all of our ideas to show that they are empty. But one of the things he said is that there's no way we can separate the activity of a person and the way we define the self of that person in that moment. So, it's the way that he showed the emptiness of the self. He spoke of it, he expounded on the Buddha's teaching and expanded it and said, we cannot separate the runner from the running. And it's really, a runner is just a conceptual idea that we say this person is a runner. But the activity of running is what makes the person a runner. And it's actually a conceptual idea that there is something called a runner without the running. It's an idea that we cling to, but it's meaningless actually without the practice of running. So Dogen Zenji is saying that Avalokiteshvara, or Buddha, or awakening, is meaningless and outside of the activity in this moment of manifesting enlightenment. So we think we can get enlightened and stay an enlightened being and be a Buddha outside of the time of here and now. But that's delusion, because the past is an idea and the future is an idea. And the only awakening that we can say is real is this moment unfolding before us. So we need to do it now. We need to express this Avalokiteshvara, the whole body of practice and enlightenment in this moment, here and now. So, all right, we'll stop on that line. So to kind of emphasize this and draw it out, he talks about clear seeing. We talked about, clear seeing, which is another really beautiful term. This clear seeing is the reality itself. There's no separation between the thing being seen, the seeing, and the seer. That is Avalokiteshvara. We usually think of this seeing as there's one person here seeing that reality. But, this clear seeing is the reality itself, beyond separation. And yet we use this subject-object relationship as the expression of compassion in this clear seeing. So he goes on to say that in saying that these five skandhas, this body and this mind, are instances of prajnaparamita, the entirety of Avalokiteshvara when we practice. And it's about our relationship to these five skandhas, whether we grasp them as an individual self, me, a separate person that needs to get his way and his point of view is the most important and true, or we connect with and express this reality, as these five skandhas, not as a subject of the self, but as an expression of the whole body. So the clear seeing, of course, is Zazen. Zazen is the time when we let go of our grasping to these five skandhas. So usually we grasp the subject-object relationship as real and me. But in our Zazen, we don't negate that relationship. We don't say it's wrong. We don't say it's right. We don't say anything about it. And if we do, we let that go. Of course, we often do. We say something or we believe something about this relationship, but any belief or investment in one point of view is released in Zazen. And yet, Dogen Zenji, through this piece, he goes on to illustrate further that we need a point of view to allow our Zazen practice to penetrate through our entire life off the cushion in order to express Buddha's compassion. So we don't reject that views completely. We don't relinquish views, but we kind of make a mistake and allow the views to inform, of course, our practice off of the cushion. But it's very important for us to be grounded in this, view beyond views, or views beyond views. And, Buddha called that right view. It's part of the Eightfold Path. I mean, the Eightfold Path. That's right. And Dakota made a comment about stepping off the 100-foot pole koan story. So, we could talk about that. We could talk about that later after I finish this little spiel, if you like, a bit more. But so jumping off the 100-foot path is letting go of these 5 skandhas. I mean, jumping off the 100-foot pole. We think that means the end of our life. We get to the kind of the pinnacle of what we think we can do in practice or our understanding, and we have to let go of even that. There is no Buddhism, in our Zazen. There's no self, there's no Buddha, no ancestors. We let go of all of that and really jump off, but it's really frightening if we don't understand, or if we don't have some kind of faith or understanding of what this means and why we do it. So that's why we study texts, like this, so that we can jump off the 100-foot pole. And so let's see. So this is the clear seeing of Zazen. And I was just thinking about it this morning too. And since I was thinking, inspired by it again this morning, I thought I would just mention it, this clear seeing. And I've been reading a book. I read a book recently by Taigen Leighton. It's about Wanshi Shogaku, who was an ancestor. He wasn't actually our ancestor. His lineage died out, apparently, they think, in Japan. But he was a Dharma brother of, I can't remember his name right now, who was actually the actual ancestor in our lineage. It's about 100 years before Dogen Zenji. Dogen Zenji, okay, I'll relax and then I'll think of it in a minute. But Dogen Zenji really respected Wanshi Shogaku. And after reading this book, I really understood more, how Wanshi Shogaku influenced Dogen Zenji's teachings. But he's probably the Zen master it seems he respected him almost more than any other that we can see. But this phrase that Wanshi used, Mokusho Zen, silent illumination Zen, and it was actually his we think of them as rivals at the time, but there was another Zen master named Dai He. I can't remember his name right now either, but he was a Rinzai Zen master who criticized this sort of practice, and in a kind of pejorative way called it silent illumination, Zen, like a kind of a demon Zen, because it's a kind of a dark, this moku can mean a kind of darkness that's associated with demons or delusion. But once she took that phrase and embraced it and said that it, actually expressed the reality of our Zazen practice. And yeah, I don't know if I've heard someone explicitly say this, but this darkness and illumination together as one, I think really inspired Dogen Zenji, or I would think that it did. Because this morning I was making this connection with the famous poem, Sandokai, The Merging of Difference and Equality, by Shu To, the great master in our lineage in China. We'll study this poem eventually. Someday we'll study this poem. But in there it says, in the light there is darkness, in the darkness there is light. But don't take darkness as light, and don't take light as darkness. And there's another part that says, branching streams of light and darkness, or branching streams flow in the darkness. And it's this darkness represents unity, and the light usually we say represents individuality or cause and effect, or this world of subject and object. And so to me, in this phrase, silent illumination or dark illumination, Wanshi Shogaku express this reality of going beyond the individual or the universal in our Zazen practice. And so it's the kind of thing I think Dogen Zenji would have picked up on and really deeply reflected on it. But Dogen Zenji, of course, called this shikantaza, just sitting. Anyway, so probably we don't need to talk a lot about the 18 elements and the 12 sense fields and these other teachings of Buddha, of course, where the Heart Sutra says those things don't exist and they're empty. And Dogen Zenji is saying, actually, they do exist and they are prajna paramita. So we think that he's saying something opposite of what the Heart Sutra is saying. And if we don't study the Heart Sutra carefully, we think the Heart Sutra is saying something the opposite of what Shakyamuni Buddha said. But Dogen Zenji is bringing this back to Buddha's original teaching. He thinks, or that this is my understanding of it, and he's trying to show us how Buddha's original teachings are in accordance with the Heart Sutra, and we need to use them. We need to embrace them, but yet not cling to them in order to express this reality beyond the individual and universal reality. But the same as the 5 skandhas, it's our relationship to these things that arise in our mind in this subject-object relationship. It's very important. The way we approach and practice with those things is the important point. Let's see. One thing I just wanted to say to another line, that at this time, this time of the go round of studying this piece that inspired me more in a different way this time was his saying that form is just form and emptiness is just emptiness. And of course we understand, my teacher talked about this and said that means we don't need to say that something is empty. We don't need to say, well, these five skandhas are empty, because when we do that, in a way, we're going into an intellectual realm and separating form and emptiness and then putting them back together. And he said, so Dogen Zenji is saying we really don't need to say anything about form and emptiness being one, because when we encounter form, we encounter emptiness, and we don't have to separate the two out and say, we understand. When we meet those things as the self, they go beyond form and empty. They don't. Maybe that's not a good way to say it, but form and emptiness are there. And so, to me, this is really informs, like if you read the Tenzo Kyokun and Dogen Zenji's teaching there, and one of the things that really attracted me to Zen when I first encountered it was this sort of intuitive or love of every object one encounters as the self, or respect and honoring the thing in itself. So when Dogen Zenji talks about using the property of the temple and caring for them as if they're your own eyes, and yet each thing in the kitchen has a place where it goes. So they're each in a Zen kitchen. If you've ever been in a Zen kitchen, there's a lot of emphasis on things going back into the right place. And some of us think, well, in today's society, we tend to think of that as kind of like, well, that's OCD or something, or anal retentiveness, or everything has to be exactly where it's supposed to be. But when you think about it, this is because of compassion, because then when the next person goes to use that utensil, they know exactly where it is, and the ease of the connection with that utensil, is there, for example, and the person can access it as if they access their own body. We don't have to put a lot of effort into searching or going into the conceptual realm again of where is this thing. We reach for it as if it's our own body. In this piece, the koan that I referenced about Avalokiteshvara at the beginning of this piece, these two Zen masters are talking about Avalokiteshvara, and one of them, asks the other, like, what do all those hands and eyes do of Avalokiteshvara, the 1,000 hands and eyes of Avalokiteshvara? How do they express this prajna paramita? And the other one says, it's like a person sleeping who reaches behind their head to adjust their pillow. So it's a really profound statement. Something done in the darkness, some intentional activity beyond thinking done in the darkness that involves the entire body. So that's part of the way that we, in the kitchen, for example, make the kitchen our own body by keeping things in order. It's counterintuitive. We allow this form beyond form to express through form. So we take care of the entire body, this liberation beyond all dichotomies by making dichotomies. So we, you know, we ring the bell and we know it's time to begin zazen. If we don't have a time, if we just leave it up to like, oh, well, it doesn't matter when we sit, or I'll sit when I want to, or we'll just come together and see what happens. Of course, it doesn't work. We need to say, we're going to sit now and we're going to ring the bell. And within that form, the formless manifests. So anyway, the other part of it is when we encounter those pieces in the kitchen, we don't have to say this is empty, therefore I can care for it. We just treat it as it's our own life and our own body, and you know, we don't have to go into saying, making an excuse of why we need to care for it. And it's the same when we encounter another person or another animal, or you know, the earth or the sky. This is what Dogen Zenji was talking about. This is the Zen teaching that, to me, when I first encountered it, was very beautiful, and it made like so much sense on some level. You know, I didn't understand, but here, coming back and studying this text, you know, I really see the origin of it and what it really means, you know, in our practice, and why we say these things, and why it seems so deeply beautiful, you know, to us. So I think I'll stop there and just call that good for now. And there may have been points that I mean, there were many points that I didn't, of course, talk about. Many points. We could talk about this text for many years and not exhaust its depth. But anyway, in any case, this might have gotten us to a place where we're kind of thinking about it a bit again and reflecting and just coming back to the text. So next week we can start going on with the studies there. And while I'm thinking of it, I think next week could be an interesting time for everybody to be here. Hoko, the abbot, or what they're calling her, she's calling her senior teacher of Sanshin Zen community, will be at Gyobutsuji, and she'll be bringing a young man from Argentina or Venezuela, I think. He practiced with Ryushin some in Colombia, but he's going to be at Gyobutsuji for a week. But they'll have just arrived at Friday evening, and Saturday morning everybody will still be kind of settling in, but they'll be here or be there. I mean, here, there, it's, you know, it doesn't matter so much, but they won't be in Salt Lake City, Utah. They will be at Gyobutsuji. So maybe it'll be interesting if you'd like to join us then. But anyway, does anybody have anything they'd like to say this morning? Any comments or observations, questions?
For you, I think that I think I remember talking about it with, I think Russ was on the call, and what week is that the folks you just mentioned would be at Gyobutsuji?
It's going to be next weekend and the following week, if I have my dates right. Hopefully, I think I do.
Okay, so the week of like the 17th, is that what you're saying?
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember you and Russ and I, and maybe other folks were on the call, but I remember us talking about possibly being able to make it to Gyobutsuji during that week. I will need to check my work schedule. I think I might actually be covering for somebody at work who's on a project I'm working that's out that week. I hope not, or I hope I can find someone else to cover for me. But I will send you an email. I may be available that week, and I would love to come see the monastery.
Yeah, it'd be great, Austin. Thanks for reminding us about that. I kind of dropped the ball on that. I couldn't actually remember what we had said. Russ and I had talked about it, and he's he can speak for himself, but it's not going to work for him to come that week. And I think this event last week probably distracted me from
Yeah, yeah, of
thinking
course.
about that. But you're absolutely welcome to come, and he'll. I think his name is Jakusho. He'll be there.
Yeah.
Uh, he's leaving the following Saturday.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So absolutely, and actually, I haven't checked in. What I think Dakota is going to be there that week too.
Okay.
We
Okay.
haven't
It
checked
it
in.
may be that the next week actually works a lot better for me just work wise, but I will talk to my work people Monday, and I think I have a coworker that I'm co-lead on a project with that is doing college recruiting and will be out of town for that week, but I may be able to get another team member cover for me, so we'll see. Yeah.
Okay, great, great.
Yeah, I won't be able to make it as sure you said. It turns out it's my daughter's birthday that week, and we're actually able to get out there to Iowa to visit with her. So that's what we're going to be doing. But sure, you and I did talk about my getting out there sometime during October. So I'll be trying to figure out how to do something like that. But while I'm on, I do have a question. Um, and it's that the question and answer about 1,000 eyes and hands being like reaching behind one's head to adjust one's pillow. I wasn't quite sure I got it, so I'll throw out what I think it means, and then you can correct me. It's we tend to think about 1,000 eyes and 1,000 hands being like such an important, great, amazing thing, and how do you ever explain it? And he's saying, well, it's just like kind of your pillow needs adjusting, and so you reach behind your head and you do it. No big deal. Is that am I kind of going in the right direction with that?
Yeah, the next one is basically yes. I mean, the koan is one that's worthy of a lot of study, and but basically, yes, it's saying we just need to one interpretation is, or one way of thinking of it is this is life being manifesting as life. When we think about offering, for example, uh, you know we think of Avalokiteshvara as the bodhisattva of compassion and doing these great offerings or to help sentient beings, and that's what the 1,000 hands and eyes are. And the 1,000 hands and eyes represent us on some level. We are part of the great body, but we don't have to. If when we think about being part of the hands and eyes, we often get tripped up. But there's a kind of life energy, or this movement of the whole body that is like just life being life, the self, the reality of the self, reaching behind the head in darkness to adjust the pillow. So we don't have to think, well, I'm helping you. That's one of the ways that we get caught up. I'm helping you. Aren't I good? Or isn't this beautiful? Or isn't this deep practice? When in fact, it's just the self manifesting as the self in this moment. So it's one way of expressing this reality, this very deep and profound and yet simple reality. But I think we've talked about that koan some, but if you want to really study that, those commentaries on there's actually a commentary my teacher gave on Shobogenzo Kanon, or Avalokiteshvara. And there's where he really talks about this koan in depth. And the other one is One Great Pearl, I think, too, is he talks about this koan. So yeah, it's a great one.
Are those online talks or?
Those are in the Dharma Journal. If you access that site, the Soto Zen site, there is. So I think they're there. Yeah, he's written articles on those, and he does have Genzo Ways too in the Dogen Institute. There's recordings of those, but the easiest way to access them might be just that Dharma Journal. But now that I'm thinking, you may want to go to the Dogen Institute and get the journals from there, access them from there, because they'll have them, I think, separated out into topics. And if you just go to the website, you'd have to wade through 50 articles, now that I'm thinking of it. So you need to know which ones to look for. That's right. So the Dogen Institute is a good place to start on that, to get some help on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just real quick, that was a really pretty idea of what you said about Avalokiteshvara and the thousand hands being us in the in the body, basically. And it just made me think back to that Avalokiteshvara dance that you can watch on YouTube with all of the ladies standing behind each other. And so, I think you tend to think of those things as like the main thing is that main image, but so I think it really talks about what you were just saying about it's all 100 of these ladies doing this thing together. I just thought that was a pretty visual of what you were saying.
Yeah, if anybody hasn't seen that, it's worth looking it up to see it. And maybe if you don't know what Lacey's talking about, maybe we can talk about it, or she could send you the link. But Avalokiteshvara is a really traditional old symbol in China, of course, and people in Chinese culture, probably some of them don't even know that it's associated with Buddhism, but it's a very old and traditional kind of symbol in their culture, or whatever, archetype or whatever. But it's deeply rooted, in Vajrayana Buddhism, or esoteric Buddhism. But that's the thing about Vajrayana Buddhism, apparently, from the little that I know about it, is that it can be interpreted on so many different levels, and I think it was sort of evolved intentionally that way, so that there's something, when these traditions evolved, most people didn't know how to read or write, and there was this kind of dichotomy between what monks did, the few elite people who were able to learn to read and write, and then the rest of society that wasn't able to. But this was a way that people could connect in a sort of devotional way with these really beautiful images. And I think the thought was that there was some way beyond thinking that the truth of what was behind these deep teachings could enter some way into people's lives and hearts, just through art. And but there's other aspects to it. People started doing chants for wealth and well-being on a material level, which we tend to think of as not so good. And actually, Buddhism really entered into these cultures that way at first. There was a real emphasis on just what kind of good magic could be done by what gods or goddesses, who had the best kind of mojo. And but behind that, when you really study these teachings, there's these kinds of profound things that Dogen Zenji, that's what these things are based on. But it was kind of thought at the time that, you had to kind of preserve this for a certain number of people. You couldn't put this out into the masses or it would be misinterpreted, and all kinds of bad things, would happen because of the emptiness teachings being misinterpreted, and, you know, non-duality would be just dangerous to actually, talk about these kinds of things on some level. And actually that's true. If we don't understand what's being said, we can really go astray with these emptiness teachings. And Vajrayana Buddhism is just one way of expressing it, of course, but these deep teachings, I think, are at the root of them. But we can we can just enjoy these artistic expressions, and I think, to me, it makes it more meaningful when you see that beautiful piece, that's it's not just an aesthetic expression of something pretty, but it really is a very old and profound expression of people's understanding of the nature of their life and reality. So it's a good point. Go take a look at that if you want. I mean, it's just really pretty amazing. Okay, is there anything else this morning that anyone wanted to say, or any observations or questions? All right. Okay, well, if not, then we can sign off for today. And Lacey, are you up for doing the ending dedication and chant?
Put on the spot again, so of course my brain goes from form into emptiness. So is you said the dedication? So is it just the first, or a regular verse? Beings are
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure if the dedication is there. So it's dedicating the merit to all beings. I mean, I could do that part if it's not there.
It's not there.
Okay.
Unless it's the. I mean, I'm sure I know it already by heart, but I'm just now.
Okay. I'm going to put you on the spot, but I'll just do the dedication, and then you can lead the Bodhisattva vows. May this merit extend. Sorry. May this merit extend universally to all, so that we, together with all beings, realize the Buddha way. Hey.
Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusion hands are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it.
Enjoy your weekend, everybody.
Turn off the recording.